So good evening and welcome. My name is Sue-Ann. I'm from Pony Club Australia. I'm the Integrity Manager there. Game plan is something we have got involved with through the Australian Sports Commission. It's a really it's a good tool. It's a really interesting tool. And I'm talking to my camera here, which is not working, which is really bizarre for me. So I'm very sorry that I'm not actually showing to you tonight. I do ask that you've been really great and put your name and your club and your position into the chat, and ask that during the webinar you just pop questions in there if you've got any. I think I've got questions and answers in there as well, but I'm happy just to go through the chat. So more than happy as you go through if there's anything you're not quite sure on. I've said an hour. It may not take an hour, and afterwards if we've got time, then you're more than welcome to sit and have a chat with me, or otherwise we'll call it a night when it comes to an end. So we'll get moving. Excellent. So tonight we're just going to have a bit of a look at what is Game Plan. So what is this product that is out there? How do you sign up to it? How do I use Game Plan? And then we'll go have a bit of a look at the club development webinars that we're putting out this year. So very quickly, what is Game Plan? So this is a really quick overview. It's a free online tool. It helps your club to assess its capacity in key administration areas. It's a systematic way to build capacity, so it sort of takes you through a bit of a program. The tool, it helps to create plans for improvement, so a bit strategic planning wise. It's a monitoring tool, so you can go in there and monitor your progress. It's also a resource center, so there's lots of resources in Game Plan, and there's also an archive function for historical knowledge. So I'm going to throw that out there as a question at the moment. I've just put this up here. Who has heard of Game Plan? Who does have an idea of what it's doing? Have you been in there? Are you with other clubs that are using it quite currently? The history of Game Plan in part is a little bit that it's sort of left out of the club health check, but it's a more integrated system that the Australian Sports Commission have put up. And it is there to help clubs try to put a bit more system in building their capacity to administrate. So is there anyone out there who's actually heard of it before? Is this the first time you're hearing about it? And is there anything you want me to cover tonight specifically, just so I know before I move into what I've got here? All silent on the front, or typing away madly? All right, I'm going to move in. So Game Plan is online. We've had a bit of a look at that. And so I'm going to just go through the process. Tonight I thought I'll show you what's in Game Plan, but I'll also show you, thanks, Kathy. Yeah, it was a part of the pilot in we were a part of the pilot in 2020 and or 2021, whichever it was. And I've just got never heard of it before, so have no idea, but it is so your first time secretary, Genevieve. So for Genevieve out there, thank you very much for that. It is about helping you as a secretary to know what maybe you don't know is probably the best thing about Game Plan, because generally speaking, you'll find as a person who's on a committee, you don't know what you don't know. And so this is a way of jogging you and in part giving you confidence that maybe you have got things covered, because sometimes when we're in clubs, sometimes things happen and we do have a lot in place, but maybe we don't quite know how to use it, or we haven't reviewed it, or all these things are happening. So this is a way of systematically helping you to go through what you have and don't have. So I'm just going to go through the process. If you want to jump into Game Plan as a club, how do you do it? What does it look like, and what's it going to do on the inside? So that's what this presentation will be about. So as I say, pop in anything that you may have questions about. How do you sign up? So number one, we have a page on our site. Pony Club Australia site. I actually haven't got the address there, probably should have popped that in. So www.ponyclubaustralia.com.au. And this page here that we're looking at is sitting under a tab called Club Source. So we are building Club Source with, it'll be resourcing and some information, which will sort of complement Game Plan. Game Plan has a lot of resources in it already, which we'll have a look at tonight. But this is to kind of give it a little bit more accessibility as well. And we're slowly building a space where clubs can go to and find all the information that maybe it would be good to have at their fingertips. So we're sort of very slowly building that sort of space in there. So you'll notice that on this page already, we have things like sport integrity, we've got complaints, child safeguarding, which will take you to a page about child safeguarding and give you links and information. The Just Go resources are on a link there. So if you're looking for anything around the database, it's all in there. Risk management, which we're still building, but there was some risk management information on our website already. So that's sitting under that tab. Marketing comms, again, we had some information, so it's all in that spot. Incident reporting, so if you're looking for any, for the incident reporting form, that's in this space as well for clubs. And that Game Plan button is the one we're getting down to. And Game Plan, under this button, it will take you to the Game Plan page, so that if you're looking to set up Game Plan, it will be there. And as we build this page, we've got a few more things that are down there. We'll have some things on governance, strategic planning, finance and funding. And these are all things that will sort of be supported through Game Plan as well. So we're just trying to hub it all in there so it becomes an easy access point for you guys. My next little arrow there says that's the Game Plan button. So Game Plan button will take you to this space. Now, this isn't the actual sign up part, but it is pointing you to the club development page, and it talks about the product as well. So if anyone hasn't come to this webinar and is finding out information from this space, at least then when they land on this page, it won't just be sign up to Game Plan. There's a bit of information on this page. So the rest of the information on that page looks a bit like this. Talks about why and who this is useful for, and talks about the different elements of your club too that might find this a useful product. And that is little circle around there is a lovely little video that talks about Game Plan and gives you a little bit of detail. So if you're taking this back to your clubs and you're really wanting to, you know, don't want to maybe look at this presentation if it's going to take too long, this is about a 5-minute, less than chat about Game Plan. So you might like to throw that at them. So at the very bottom here, we can see Get Started with Game Plan. So this is the button that will launch us into the space where you can set up Game Plan. So you'll come to this portal, which is Welcome to Game Plan portal. And as I say, we could link to this page, but it would mean that you would really need to know what Game Plan was talking about before you arrive there. Otherwise, it would be a bit mystical. So we've got this little button here, sign in or register an account. So it will take you to this screen. So if you've already got an account, you would put in your email address and your password and go sign in. If you've forgotten your password, you would just come, I don't know if it's going to show on the screen, but there's a password reset, forgot my password. And then otherwise, if I'm not that person, I can sign in or sign up. And if you say sign up to Game Plan, it will take you to this page where you've got your user details. So your email address is what will be connected to this system, and that will be your username as well. So it's really important, and Game Plan do actually suggest in their information that you put an email that's going to be with the club. So if you've got club emails, it's better to use them in this space. That way you can keep passing it on to the next person. So if you're secretary at your pony club, or if you're Doongala secretary at gmail.com, that's the best one to be using in this space. Is there any questions that anyone's got at the moment? Outside of that, you will send a verification code. So you'll pop a verification code off to the email address, and that's really so that you know that the email address you put in there is correct. That's really what that verification is about. So we know that we've got the right email and you're going to get information. Put in your password, confirm the password, put in your given name and your surname, and then you create. So you click that create button. And where that takes you is to a terms and conditions page. Now, interestingly enough, you can read those. I actually thought that might try and see if we can get those terms and conditions so you can look at them before you get into this space and understand what's going to happen with information and those types of things. But another interesting piece of information in here is around a super user. So if you set your club up, we don't want lots and lots of clubs. We just want the one club. So we're keeping that information all together. So the super user is someone that they're suggesting your club has sat down. So potentially in a meeting, you would sit down and say, yes, we want to do game plan. The secretary is going to set it up. It'll be set up with this email. And then people can sign up and become users on that account. And so then there becomes an approval process. I actually haven't used that part, but that's what this part's saying. So I think we might drag a few of these things out so that you guys can have that information. I'll see if we can get those terms and conditions when we send around the recording. So otherwise, just use of the portal, and it tells you what they're going to do with information, privacy, personal information, communication, all those types of things, liabilities and warranties and miscellaneous stuff. So there's those terms and conditions that you read, and at the bottom of that, once we've read them all and we're happy that that's what's going on, tick the little box and say continue. So once you've done that, we've gone through the process of setting up our user password and username and password, and suddenly we're into setting up our actual space for our club to be in. So we're going to think about ourselves in this case as being the super user. So we've gone in and created ourselves a portal in here for our club. This is the screen you'll come up with. It will say first time to game plan. And I must say some of these screens will be a little bit different to what you might see ultimately, because I've been in game plan, so I've sort of mixed them up a little bit. And I did try and create a new profile to get you good screens, but this is what you will start to see. So if you're a first time to game plan, you would say start here, and that will take you through a setup process. This is just the rest of that screen. So there's news and updates on there. And at the moment, there's a little message saying the resources currently are not available on the plan page. So they've got things hooked back and around in this program. So they're just giving you that notification. Those little circles down the bottom are sort of showing you what game plan's doing. So there's a club profile, which means that you have your club profile sorted, and it takes a bit of information. So we'll look at the club profile. You can have your priorities. So as a club, there are certain things that in game plan that you might think are more important for your club. So you can prioritize what this program will do for your club. You go through an assessment phase. So we'll look at all of these things. And I've picked up the screen so you can have a bit of a look at what's going to happen inside. There's a plan page, which is probably the power of this product if you use it to its full degree. The resources, so we'll have a bit of a squiz at what's in the resources because there's quite a few in there. And then there's a monitor page, so you can actually monitor your plan. So you'll come up with a screen like this. Please join a club to access this page. As I say, I think when you're setting up, this may not show. This might be what you find if you're joining into a club that's already put together, because I think it may have made me a secondary user. I've gone in. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. So it will say, please join a club to access this page. Click here to find or create your club. That's all right. As I say, there's a few things in here. I'm looking at it a little bit to say I've already got a page set up in there. So I've gone through that setup phase. So you go in there and you can go and find your club. So if you already have a club set up, you would then be joining that club. So then you would not be the super user, you would be a user in that portal. Otherwise, if you can't find your club, and you'll notice here I did a search for Pony Club, and I've got where there is Pony Club Association of Queensland, Australia, Victoria and WA. So it has been a space where we've been playing a little bit. So those states have had a bit of a closer look at it. And that's all the Pony Clubs I could find in the system. So if your club's not in here, then you would go create new club. And when it says new club, it comes up with this page. So your club name. So make sure that the club name that you're using is your legal name, I'd say. Make sure that it's exactly what you think it should be. So no abbreviations of things, it's actually what you would call yourself. The sport will be Pony Club, and that's important because what happens is we've got a customized page because Pony Club's been working in this space and we said, yes, we'd like a customized game plan. That means that some of the questions in this game plan portal are questions that are Pony Club questions. They're things that actually apply to our organisation and our clubs, and things that might be useful for you guys to know or for information to keep or to have in that system. The club address, obviously, that's just all identifying information. And then it popped up, this popped up when I was going through this process, that these are existing clubs that might be you. So they're trying to make sure that there's no duplicates in there. I thought it was intriguing because none of them look like the club I'd actually put in to create this, but yeah, you can then go, nah, they're definitely not me, create a new club. And then it does a little club processing. It has this little moment to sit there and watch the yellow line run. So that's quite good. Sit back, relax. And once it's done that, it will come up with your new club has been created and will take a few seconds. And then you can say, open the new club. And so then we come up with this page where it starts to talk about, let's go and have a look at your club profile. Let's have a look at your priorities. Again, I think this might be one of those pages where it feels like I've already been in there before. So it may be slightly different. It mightn't say update your club profile. It might say create your club profile. And so when you click on those pages, so I've just put a couple of little arrows, you would say click here for both of those spaces and go in there and start putting the details of your club. So your club profile does things like collect all those basic information, your local government authority, those types of things. And then you've got some general information, club information, which is talking about affiliations, those types of things. So you can pop in your knowledge of that. A lot of this, unless it's got a little asterisk, won't be required. And so then there's a page that talks about your participation. So we're talking about workforce in this case. So that's the committees and coaches, officials and volunteers. This page is realistically for you guys. It will help over a journey because each year maybe you might pop into this portal and just put those numbers in. And in terms of this product, it's really there to also help future committees. So it might be of interest to them to watch what happened last year if they've just come in. So if you're a new person like Genevieve, you may not know a lot of what's going on. This might be that really great prompt for you. You'll notice that the total numbers are really, they're asterisks. The breakdown of who, what, where isn't required. So it really is your information if you want to put it in there, because you can go past it if you don't want to. Your member participant profile, again, the total number is a required field in this space if you're going to fill out your club profile, but everything else, the breakdowns are not there. But it might be an interesting thing for you as a club to start doing that and having a bit of a view, because it does give you an idea of who you are as a club and whether you're actually maybe pitching your product at the right people, or you're providing opportunities for people in your club. So you may or may not have statistics on some of what they're asking in that space, but yeah, for whatever you do have, whatever you know, then that's a good spot for you guys to jump into. So priorities is the other one that was set up on that page. And the priorities is really about helping you to tailor game plan to your club. So it starts to look at things. There's some certain modules that they are like foundation modules that they require you to do. They're sort of the setup ones. But these are the other things that are in here that are maybe not fundamental to great management, but they're a part of great management. So they allow you to say, well, what's more important to us? Is infrastructure a real issue for our club? That's a top priority. We'll move it up the scale. Or is research and insight? We don't do any of that currently, and we feel we're pretty good in other spaces. We're going to put that right at the top. So this is just helping to tailor the program for you. And this page, I just popped it in because when you go and you land on that front page, there is a little bar of a menu at the top. So just looking at that, you can get to the club profile, or the next page will look at priorities. You can click on priorities and go straight to these pages. But the setup process will probably take you through a little bit of a tour as well. So once you're all set up, the biggest thing next is how we're actually going to use it. How is this actually going to help my club to understand where they're at and really use this product so that actually is helpful for you in your clubs? So the next part is assessment. So how do I use it? You move through, and if you're having a look at that menu at the top, we've got club profile, priorities, and next one's assessment. So the assessment space is broken up into all the little modules. And we'll just really, I'm going to highlight this one first. There is no expectation that you complete all the modules at once. So there's probably about 14 or 15 modules, I think, in game plan. So don't feel like you have to do them all. You might just decide in the first 6 months that we're going to do this module and this module in the next 6 months. So you might even break it up in your committee and say, that's what we're going to concentrate on, and that's what we're going to do for the next little while. We'll create a plan about that, and we'll get that part underway. So don't feel like you have to go through, because I think it could be quite overwhelming, this product. If you go, goodness me, there's so many questions, so much to know, that it might be easier just to say we're going to pick things off as we go along. You might say each quarter we're going to tackle one of these modules. So be mindful that there's a lot in there, but you don't have to do it all. Highlighted this because game plan will tell you that it's best that the people who are maybe doing these modules, that they're maybe the people that come in and actually assess you in that space. So if your treasurer is, it's probably best the treasurer does the finance part. If you've got a marketing comms person, maybe they're the person that comes in and does the assessment for the marketing communications. So keeping in mind too, the assessments can be retaken, and they will be retaken over time. It is still one person's opinion. There's also, game plan have also come back and said some of the culture things, values and safeguarding modules, maybe they're better done as a group. So you might bring them to a committee meeting and say, let's answer these questions all together and come up with an answer that we think fits us. So just thought there were some interesting things on that page to pick up. And just the last one here, that it's sort of built to give you a maturity stage that you can work through. And so that's where those priorities are trying to help you to sort of what's more important for us to do. So just keeping those points in mind when we're looking at the assessments, and even if you are jumping in creating this for your club, that that you're having a bit of a think about how it's going to be best useful for your club and doesn't create more work, that it's actually helping you reduce work. So what you'll see when you go down the page is these foundation modules. So you'll notice that we didn't have an opportunity to prioritise governance, finance, diversity, equity and inclusion, safeguarding, strategic roles and strategy roles and responsibilities, and workforce. These are the foundation modules, and what it's basically saying is that these things are quite important for clubs to be very good at. So they've sort of didn't allow you to prioritise them. So they're the foundation modules. Having said that, it's not going to make you go through and do these. It's just suggesting that these are the things that you should tackle first. Then you'll see these top priority modules. So the first of those 8 modules, the first 4 that were on my rating scale are now sitting as top priority modules. So they might be the next ones that I tackle. And then these are lower priority modules. So that's just helping you not look at everything all at the same time. So take the assessment or retake the assessment. As I said before, because I've got mine and I've gone through and had a look at all these things, mine are all saying retake assessment, but what you'll find is if you haven't taken an assessment, it will say take assessment. And so that's that little button there. So you go and click on that, and what it will do is open up a screen that looks like this. So we're going to talk about governance in this case, and it's just a list of questions. So it will ask you, as this one, does your club refer to a set of rules or guide to guide meetings, structures and processes? and you get to decide whether it's always that you do that, mostly, sometimes never. So you can be as brutal with yourselves as you wish. If you are saying, we think we kind of do it, but we're not quite sure, then it probably almost is better to say we never do it, because what the system will do is give you some ideas on how you create competency in that area. So be brutal, because you'll get information from it, but otherwise, if the things that you're excelling, so if you say we always do that, it won't give you anything. It'll just say, well done, you're excelling. It probably will give you some stuff, but it will be giving you some good information that you can then check off and go, yeah, actually, we do think we do that. And so we'll reassess ourselves at some time. View module. So once we've done those assessments, so you'll notice, I'll flick back a couple of screens. So there's a next button. You'll just keep going through. At the moment, it's telling you that there's page 1 of 10 here. You might find that it stops at a point, so don't worry too much about the pages. I was told that that was fixed, but it doesn't seem to be fixed, but it's not a huge issue. Just don't feel like you're missing out on anything. So we'll continue to work and just see if we can get that hidden. It's apparently part of their program, and it is counting different pages because they've got lots of sports in there who have got different questions. So therefore, sometimes it will cut off at page 3 because we don't have the questions that other sports have got in this space. So that's pretty much what it is. So that you know, don't think you're missing out on anything. View module is just down here. So once we've taken the assessment, we can say, let's view the module. So let's go and see what happened. We can view the answers. That's another one that's in there, so we can see what we actually said. But if you go to view module, you'll come up with a screen that looks like this. And this screen is helping you to, in your own mind, create action plans to change things. So I've tapped a few things in here, just trying to show what you would actually do in this space. And there's obviously lots of writing on the screen as well. So if you read it, it will also make a bit of sense. So don't dismiss the words on the page. Have a bit of a look at that as well. So pretty much we have this current maturity in governance for this club was not in place. So there's nothing in place. And the next maturity rating for this club would be developing. So this page is giving me some ideas on how I can do that. So this page, I've just gone into why is it important? Governance is the foundation of successful clubs, and I've got a delivery date that I've been able to put into there and who's responsible for it. So Daisy Duck's going to do that by the 31st of the 12th, 2023. And all of this you'll see is just building or helping to build a bit of a plan about how we change what we're doing. So down that page, down the side, you can see just under Save Changes, this is what's written in that space. And this talks about what is my current maturity level? So what is actually happening in that space? Why have I been, what's it mean? And it's saying that these are some of the things that might be happening at my club for me to have been assessed as not in place. So it might be a lack of formal structure. It could be unclear, incomplete, or poor documentation. So they're the types of things we're looking at as the club. So the club's probably answered the questions going, no, we don't have that. We never do that. We sometimes do that. And so this is the information it will give back to them. These are the things that can build skills in that area. So how can I improve my performance? It's giving you some information as well. So for every level that you arrive at, you're going to get this feedback. So even if you're excelling, it's probably still going to give you feedback on how to maintain that or to excel even more. So you'll notice in here, in order to become a developing club, developing a constitution and or a set of rules, policies, procedures to guide the club in its operations. That might be something that becomes a strategy for this club to move forward. So we'll see that's down the side under Save Changes. That's what information is sitting on that page for you. It's also got this other side that's giving you resources. So that's pretty cool. It's got the resources, code of conduct templates, committee charters, committee guidebook is in here. So if you want to add this to your plan, you get to push the little add button and it will put it into your actual plan. So if we've written what we're doing in that space, this will start to add it to a plan for you. And then there's additional resources down the bottom. So there's the education course, the Start Line, that's an ASC educational course for committees. And then there's WorkSafe stuff. So they'll keep sticking in these other resources that might also help you. So you can also stick those in your plan as well. So back to that page where I've put governance in, and we're sort of starting to work with that page. Sorry, I'll just pop back there. And so at the top, you'll see create action plan, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So how are we taking this information that we've gone through and assessed ourselves? How are we going, and we've seen that we can do certain things. We've sort of got this screen where we've got why is it important? So what are we actually trying to do? Who's going to be doing stuff? How are we actually going to collate all this information? So the system's actually helping us do that too. So we've got create action plan. If I click on that button, it pops up with this project summary. Now this is very, very detailed, and I do recommend that if you are, it is good because by the time you get to the end of it, it will give you lots of information and help you to actually get things moving at the club and assign people roles and jobs to do various projects for you. But if I do recommend that probably this is great for someone who really enjoys doing this type of thing and is not overwhelmed by it, because this action page is quite full. But as I say, it does have a great end to it all. Anything with an asterisk on it, obviously you do need to fill in, but it doesn't have to be big either. So I've just called this project summary developing club constitution. So we're going to say that this club hasn't got a club constitution, which would be very weird, but it is what I've said. The project lead is Daisy Duck. So she's the person who's going to be really managing this. Her team members are Donald Duck and Goofy. And the review date for looking at this is the 3rd of the 9th, and the date to deliver is the 31st of the 12th. And the status is that it's current, so it's something that we're currently doing. And then this little indicative cost up here, which is, I think, really fabulous, because by the time we get to the end of the plan, it will give us a pricing for whatever project, what this project's going to cost us. So the project here is we start to define why is the project needed. So why are we going to do it? And what are we trying to achieve? So again, I haven't put a lot of detail in here. I've just popped down what we're thinking. And these types of action plans, I guess, are particularly important if you've got a committee who are going to rotate, and that happens on committees, because it does really give a feel. If something hasn't quite been completed, you know why someone was going down this path. These do have an asterisk on them, so you'll need to pop something in. But I think probably keeping in mind we don't have to be hugely wordy because people don't read a lot anyway, that it's fine to actually just put in a few notes so that people know exactly what we're talking about. Success metrics will be about, how do we know we've actually achieved it? In this case, we'll have a club constitution that's ready to be adopted at the AGM in March of 2024. The people, you don't have to do this part, but if you press this little create button, it will bring up a box and you can start putting in your stakeholders. So it's a bit fancy, but you can go past it. Resources, so anything you think you're going to need, pop that in. Again, that's not asterisk, so you don't have to put that in, but it might be handy to know for various projects where you do have some resources that people should know that you've got, and you know that you're going to put hands on them. And then any required resources. So this helps when you're spitting out this plan to say, we've got all this and we know we've got this, but we actually need this, and that's going to cost us some money. Or we just know we have to get it because we don't have it. So it might even be like a surveying tool or something like that. Risks, so there's a little bit of risk analysis. Again, this isn't required, but yeah, if you're setting this up and you thought, yes, the risk part is really quite handy for us. Again, that's out of that little create button, so you can go past it. Actions the same, so you can go past it, but this is sort of trying to give you that opportunity to actually give yourself a process where you're going to try and hit dates. So that's what this is about. So I put in that they were going to have a meeting every month. So you might say June meeting, June, July, August, September, October, November meeting, whatever they are, put the dates on them, and then what actions might happen in between. And you're obviously going to be able to go back to this action and pop anything in there. So if there's a few other things that pop up, but then it will give you a nice list of things so you know what you're going to hit. So it's going to help you to actually achieve that outcome. And then there's a budget. So if there's anything in there that you know you're going to have to pay for, so I popped a couple of things in, legal advice and actually lodging the new constitution. And so they, under each one of those, if you're pressing this little create button, it will start to create this little list for you. And obviously these here, they're like little edit buttons. So if you need to change something, you can. Once you've got to the end here, you go save and exit. And you come back and you can see that we have our project up here now, Developing Club Constitution. So we can edit it through this button, but that it's basically in our plan now. I don't know if I came up back with the screen. Didn't. Sorry. There's a screen that actually comes back with that action plan that shows you that it's put the budget in for you. So from there, let's have a bit deeper look at the plan. So we've gone through a assessment. We've come up with the fact that we don't have something in place. We've gone back and said, this is what we're going to do to put it in place. So that was one example. There might be a few things you do in that space. So you might say we need constitution, we need a club committee charter, we need anything that was on that list. We need all those things. And you go through and pop them in and populate those plans. It will then bring you, when you pop up onto the plan, which is also on that, that menu at the top, you'll find a plan page and it'll bring up this. And the plan is helping you to see what you're doing in one space. So once you've got everything in there, it'll start to put in these little buttons. So I obviously haven't gone through everything and I haven't got a plan in place or why it's important for everything. So I can go and edit those just by going back to the view edit space. You'll notice that it's showing the selected resources. So I can go to the selected resources and it will show me those resources. So I'm collating that information as I go. So anything I know is going to help me do the job, it's going to go in and be there as well. It'll have the date to deliver and who's responsible for doing it. So you're starting to get a nice plan on a page. Oops. Sorry, I hit my roll button then. And so you can see how big that is. There's quite a lot of things in there. Again, it's because I've gone through and assessed on every module. So if I didn't do every module, if I only did one, you would only end up with one in that space and that would be fine too. So be mindful that you don't have to do it all at the same time. I've obviously just gone through to have a bit of a look at everything so I know how it's working. But you can just pick one. You could just go governance or you could do finance or something like that. So once you've done all that, I then pop down here and you can see that move module to ready for monitoring. I tick that little green button and I say, yes, that one is ready to go into my monitor screen. And so it moves it down into that assessment modules ready to monitor. And then I finish and monitor the plan. So I press that button. And now you'll see that up on that, the menu bar at the top, where we've got club profile priorities, assessment, plan. So they're all the spaces I can go to find the information we've been looking at. There's now this monitor one. So if I wanted to go and find our plan and see how we're progressing with it, it'd be under monitor. So, and this screen was just that popped up and said your modules are currently being updated. So that's what will happen. And we popped into the monitor screen. So now I have under this screen monitor, we have that my current maturity for governance was not in place, that I'm trying to get to developing. The reason it's important, the date that I'm delivering, who's doing it, the current status. So it is on hold. I obviously didn't change that, so it's not on hold. It might be happening. And then current status comments. So you can start doing and working in that space to just make sure you know what's happening and that you're actually progressing. So in terms of using this as a product, you might even put this in, if you said we're going to do governance, we're just going to do that one little module, that you could have this come to your committee meeting and say, how are we going? And on all those points that you're doing things, it would have what's going on. So you could check in and go, yes, we're doing well, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that, checked off. And so by the time you go back to that module and reassess yourself, you'll go, yes, we've got this in place, this is always happening, blah, 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 blah. So it might then pop you up to developing. It might actually put you into excelling, depending on how well you do all those things. And then there's archive plans, so I can archive my plans. The archive function is really quite nice for committees who are moving as committees do. So we don't always have a committee that stays there for 10 or 15 years. It sometimes moves back and forward. And so for someone like Genevieve, who's just come in, this might be a really great thing for her to pop in and say, oh, I can see what they've done over the journey. I know that we've actually created that at some point. I wonder where it is. So sometimes we lose things over a journey in clubs because that's what happens. So yeah, knowing that that's what was there is a really great thing. And someone might go, oh yes, actually I do know where that is. That's on our file system that we've keep here, or it's on the website or whatever. Resources. So there is a lovely tab up there called resources, and under resources, there is a lot. So it's broken up into the modules. They've got governance, finance. I'll pop through the screens. So we've got safeguarding, diversity, equity, inclusion. So they're all the modules, marketing, comms, workforce and volunteers. They're all the modules and resourcing to help you build in those spaces. And as we saw in the plan space, you can actually go and say, I want that one, and that one. So you don't have to go fishing around for them. If you've decided that's going to help you build that capacity in your club, then it's going to be sitting there for you to just click on and go and find. So that's a really nice little space for you. There's a few different things in there from, there's a little bit of training in there as well, policies, templates of different types, and some of it will just be information to leap from. So that, in all reality, is game plan in a very quick view. I hope from that you've got a feel for what is in there and what it can do for you. It is quite overwhelming and big, but I think it's only overwhelming and big if you're doing everything all at the same time. I feel like the templates the templates will be from ASC, Fiona. They've gathered templates from across sport and they've refined them and put them in there. So they may not look like what you're looking for, but we'll actually be building templates as well. And you'll notice that we can actually put resourcing in for our own Pony Club resources. So over a journey, as we're creating things, we'll probably keep them in two spaces. We'll put some on the web and so they're easy to access, but we'll put them in this place as well. So you can do the same thing, add those resources to your plan so that you say, well, I don't want the global templates because I know I've got to do too much work. I'm going to take the Pony Club one because I know that's more refined for us, if that makes sense. Any other questions before I go into the next part? And we're doing pretty well. This is the club development webinar series. I've just highlighted Tuesday, the 23rd of May. I've shifted that forward. So when we communicate that, I've shifted that webinar forward by a week. These webinars will try and support what Game Plan does as well. So if you're actually in that space and you're starting to come up with these questions and the development type spaces, they will sort of help for knowledge in that space. And so if you are actually active in Game Plan, it might be a really good one to come to if you've got any questions that are happening and that you haven't managed to bounce off anywhere else. But there will also just be webinars to help raise some thought in these spaces, or to help clubs to understand where they can go and access things, or just to talk about things. So club governance, one of the things we'll talk about is club constitutions, where you should have them, make sure that you've got them and what they're doing for you. So what that document's about. But we'll talk about other things that are in that module that you'll see, like committee charters, delegation of authority, those types of things. We'll talk over those bits and pieces. So it'll kind of complement Game Plan, but it'll also just be some information in general. So these will go out to clubs, will be advertised on the Facebook page, so they'll be under events, so you can go and get them with the links. And they'll also would send you a little reminder as they pop up through your club, so that you can jump in, and if you've missed them, hopefully you'll grab them from there. And otherwise they are being advertised through the newsletter, and will be for the next couple of months. We'll keep putting those through the newsletter, PCA newsletter. So feel free to come to those, they are free. Hopefully I'll have a camera so you can actually see me, which is sometimes nicer than just hearing someone's voice. And yeah, so that's that little series, and that's really, as I say, trying to support Game Plan a little bit as well. Any questions, you're more than welcome to drop me a line. You can call me, that's the Integrity Hotline number, but you're welcome to call me if you're struggling in this area or you're wanting a bit of help. And also that's the website, so you can jump on the website and have a bit of a look around. As so we will be building that page, and hopefully do it in conjunction with what we're actually churning out as well. So that a lot of the resourcing that we're looking for in governance as being the first one, we'll try and put all of those on a page for you and build as we go over time. At this point, I can also ask you if you guys have anything that you know is fabulous at your clubs, you feel is fabulous at clubs, don't be shy in spreading that to me as well. I'm more than happy to take on other people's hard work. So feel free to send those things in, because your knowledge and your experiences and the things that you've built up could very well help another club to manage themselves more efficiently or more easily. So if that is pretty much it, unless you've got some questions, that is the Game Plan Club Management Tool webinar. And I hope to see you in some of the club development webinars.